Alright guys, we're back with more fantasy baseball content, and here I'm going to help you go through your waiver wire to pick out the best and most important players to add to your teams. This is officially the first time on the channel that the weekly waiver wire video is moving to Saturday, so I hope that helps all you guys get in your waiver claims ahead of Sunday night and can help you guys set your lineups ahead of Monday. So make sure if you guys are watching this and don't want to miss any more videos on the channel, go down there and click that big black subscribe button. That way you're not going to miss the weekly waiver wire, some trade advice, breakouts, busts, all the other fun videos we do on here. Also, if you are watching, please drop this video a like. Also, just to remind you guys, after I do my big player profiles for the main guys I'm featuring in this week's waiver wire video, I'm going to have special sections at the end set aside both for shallow leagues and for deep leagues. So if you guys want to check those out, make sure you wait around for the end. Also, the timestamps for those sections will be down there in the description. But all right, now let's get into it. The first player I'm going to talk about this week is Mick Abel, starting pitcher on the Phillies. Abel's a rookie who's made 2 major league starts so far and has shown some serious stuff, and now somewhat surprisingly has a long runway to make his name in this rotation. He was called up for a spot start last month where he knew coming up that no matter how well he pitched, he wasn't going to have an opportunity to stick in the rotation more than that start. But he pitched about as well as anybody ever could in their major league debut, going 6 innings, striking out 9 batters, allowing no earned runs, not walking any hitters, and outdueling Paul Skeens to beat the Pirates. But again, no matter what, he was going back down after that. He knew that was just kind of a timing thing, a scheduling thing. The Phillies needed one start. He was ready to make it. But since that start, Aaron Nola, who's been in the IL for a few weeks now with a sprained ankle, has been shut down in his rehab for feeling some discomfort in his oblique. It was a weird situation to this point already with Nola because he got crushed in the early part of the season and went in the IL with kind of what seemed like a phantom ankle injury, took 2 weeks without throwing, and now is shut down again with that side issue. So no matter what, we probably won't see Aaron Nola again to come back in this Phillies rotation until the end of June. Also in that time, Taijuan Walker was reinserted back in the Phillies rotation and pitched so poorly again, allowing 7 earned runs across 11 innings, that he's officially been taken out of the rotation and moved to the bullpen. Those 2 spots have reopened an opportunity now for Abel to come back up. And he returned to the majors last week and made another really nice start against the Blue Jays, where he went 5 1/3 innings, only allowed 1 run, struck out 2 batters, and again, didn't allow any walks. It definitely wasn't as great as that debut, 1, because the Pirates offense is anemic, one of the worst in baseball, but also 2, Abel was definitely very jacked up for his major league debut. In that first start, his fastball averaged 97 miles an hour. In his last one against the Blue Jays, it averaged more like 94, 95 miles an hour. Also, he came up for this start against the Blue Jays only on 4 days rest, something that he was not doing regularly in the minor leagues. So it is commendable that he was able to pitch so well in that situation. But past that, Abel has more than enough to be a solid major league starting pitcher. He's got a nice 4-pitch mix that's led by his fastball. Again, will usually sit 95 to 96, as well as a sinker that has a plus shape and also sits about 94 95 miles an hour. Then a hammer curveball is going to be his out pitch, and a nice tight gyro slider. He's comfortable throwing his batters from each side of the plate. Despite this very good stuff, he's always been a bit of an underrated and overlooked prospect. 1, because the Phillies have the phenom Andrew Painter, who's been kind of pitching at the same time in the similar levels as Abel, overshadowing him a little bit. And 2, Abel's always really struggled with his command, especially walks through the minor league level. He's never walked fewer than 10% of batters at any individual minor league stop. So it's pretty amazing that through 11 major league innings, he's yet to walk a batter. No matter what, he has a good rotation spot, he has good stuff, and he's pitching for a good team. That's a check, check, check for a guy like Mick Abel, who's going to have this opportunity for a month and can really seize a spot in this Phillies rotation. I'm adding Mick Abel in every single league he's available right now. Next up, we have Kyle Teel, catcher on the White Sox. Teel was one of the huge pieces in that Garrett Crochet trade with the Red Sox during the offseason, along with Chase Meidroth, who's been a favorite on this channel, who's been really, really impressive so far as a rookie in just a few short months. Teel will be the second player from that trade to debut for the White Sox, and he was smacking the ball at AAA. Through a little more than 200 plate appearances, he had nearly a 300 average, 400 on base, and 500 slugging percentage, with 8 homers, 7 steals, a 14% walk rate, and 25% strikeout rate. That's more than good enough to get called up and mix in this White Sox team that's of course struggling in basically every position on the field. I expect Teel to split time at catcher with other prize prospect Edgar Caro, but the White Sox have so much available playing time, especially a designated hitter, that Teel should be getting a full plate of at-bats, whether they come at catcher or DH. We're expecting him to play about 5 days a week here. I think he'll be fine across the board. I think he'll be productive. I don't think he'll be a top 10 catcher, maybe a top 15 catcher, so you guys kind of have to measure based on your league size and type whether or not it's worth it to go get Teel. But you're going to get some power. You're going to get some speed. A lot of people are very, very high on Teel. MLB Pipeline has him as a top 25 prospect in all of baseball. Looks like he's going to be a really good player on both sides of the ball. So again, in a deeper league, definitely a 2-catcher format, jump on Teel. Otherwise, maybe wait back a week, but this is still a very exciting player making his major league debut. Next up, we have Max Muncy, third baseman on the Dodgers. Muncy had a really horrible start to the season. It kind of felt like he was totally cooked as an older player. Up until April 29th, he had a 180 batting average, 32% strikeout rate, and 0 home runs on the season. And you might be like, wow, James, why'd you pick April 29th? That's such a weird date to pick. Well, that's because on April 30th, Max Muncy started wearing glasses. He's talked about struggling with his astigmatism, and now since putting those glasses on, he looks like a totally different player. Since April 30th, the day he put the glasses on again, he has a 1,000 OPS, 9 home runs, and nearly the same number of walks as strikeouts in over 100 plate appearances. That's an all-star type of player. Of course, I don't expect him to continue playing at that pace for the rest of the season, but as of right now, when he's hitting like this, if you need help at third base in any league format, you should scoop up Max Muncy before someone else does. Next up, we have Edward Cabrera, starting pitcher on the Marlins. And I know that we've all been down the Edward Cabrera road before, but yes, maybe this is actually the time he finds his command and gets to use that incredible stuff that he has to become a reliable major league starting pitcher. And I'm hoping this actually is the moment because we've seen some genuine adjustments from Cabrera lead to better results. He has the lowest walk rate of his entire career right now, 9.6%, which is still pretty high, but pretty good for him. He's also throwing the highest percentage of pitches in the zone he ever has right now at 49.7%. Again, for some guys that's low, but for him that's great, as someone who's struggled with walks his entire career. While this is all happening, his strikeout rate is in line with his career norms, and he has a 3.99 ERA, which again, for Cabrera, that's really good. The big adjustment I've seen with him though so far this season is that he's lowered his arm slot from 42 degrees to 36 degrees. That might not seem like a lot, but that is a significant change for any pitcher. And what that's done is given all of his pitches more horizontal movement and a bit less vertical movement, as you guys can see from these two pitch charts right here. The biggest change though, from Cabrera lowering his arm slot, is his sinker movement, and with that new sinker movement, how comfortable he is using that pitch. It has almost 2 more full inches of arm side run on it, and most importantly, he's using it more. His usage rate on that pitch has gone up from 9% last season to 24% so far this season. That's nearly a 3x jump. And with that, it's now his most thrown pitch overall against right-handed batters, whereas last year it was his least thrown pitch against them. And again, the most important thing for Cabrera, always throwing pitches in the strike zone. That sinker so far this year has a 67% zone rate. That means 67% of the time he throws that pitch is in the strike zone. For Cabrera's entire career, no single pitch for an entire season has had a zone rate above 60%. So this is a huge deal for him that he's actually able to throw this pitch in the strike zone consistently. Of course, that's not the only thing that's important, because while he's throwing that sinker in the strike zone a lot, it is getting smacked. Opposing batters have a .550 slugging percentage against it so far this year. But again, I think for Cabrera, based on how his career has gone, throwing pitches in the strike zone is so important that he should be willing to trade some hard contact just to get ahead of more batters and keep them more on their toes by throwing actual strikes. And that's because his secondary stuff is so good. If he can just throw strikes with his fastballs, he has a really good chance to still be a dominant pitcher, even just a good one, no matter how the early part of his career has gone. And again, because those secondaries are special. So far this season, each of his curveball and slider have a whiff rate over 35%. His turbo changeup, the pitch that made him famous, sits 93 miles an hour, stretches up to 95 miles an hour, and moves so ridiculously sometimes. And still, that fastball and sinker are able to sit 96, 97, touch 98 miles an hour consistently. He did have a start on Friday against the Rays where his defense failed him a little bit. He didn't get through 5 innings, but past the eye test, he looked good out there. And I'm seeing a new comfort level for Cabrera that I haven't seen before. Bottom line, he has an easy rotation spot, he has a great home park to pitch in, and we're seeing tangible gains happen in front of our very eyes. There's a lot of pitchers out there that are late bloomers, especially pitchers that pitch for organizations that don't support their players that much, like the Marlins used to not, but it seems like they're turning over a new leaf with that now with Peter Bendix as the president of baseball operations. Cabrera can easily be one of these late bloomer types with how good this stuff still is, and he's worth a flyer just on that alone, at least in 12-team leagues. Next up, we have Matt Wallner, outfielder on the Twins. Wallner was on the injured list since the first week of April with a hamstring strain, but he just came back last week and homered in his first game back. And that's a story with Wallner, some of the best raw power in the league. He's in the top 15 in terms of average bat speed, and he has a godly barrel and hard hit rate. All the guy does is hit tanks. But the problem for Wallner has always been the ability to make consistent contact. With such powerful swings has come lots of swing and miss. But so far this season, small sample size, of course, sandwiched around a big injury, strikeout rate has gone down. It's sitting around 27% right now, which is still high, definitely still higher than league average, but for him, that's great because through his career to this point, he had over a 35% strikeout rate. And even with that 35% strikeout rate and tons of swing and miss, he still had an 850 career OPS. No matter what, if this guy is on the field, he produces. On top of that, while he swings and misses a lot, he does know how to identify the right pitches to swing at. He's not chasing very often, but the problem is always that when he did decide to swing, whether or not he would connect. But whenever he does connect, the ball goes a long way, and it goes a long way really fast. That's the most important thing we're looking at with Wallner. It's that top-end power production where if he can cut that strikeout rate a little bit, which he has so far this season, a little bit more contact for him goes a long, long way. And we could be looking at someone that could play the rest of the season on something like a 40-homer pace, with something like an 870, 900 OPS. I'm thinking about a guy like Kerry Carpenter as a comp for Matt Wallner right now. But similar to Kerry Carpenter and other hitters like that, Wallner is a big lefty who never ever starts against left-handed pitchers. So no matter what, his value needs to be dinged a little bit in weekly leagues where you know he's going to be missing 1 or 2 starts a week. Next up, we have Sawyer Gipson Long, starting pitcher on the Tigers. Gibson Long is a bit of a wild card pick for me, but he's someone I fell in love with during the 2023 season, where he was a totally unheralded prospect, came out of nowhere, was even cut as a minor leaguer with the Minnesota Twins, and he was already 22 years old in AA, but had an amazing 4-start stretch at the end of the 2023 season as a 25-year-old with the Tigers, where he struck out over 30% of the batters he faced, had a 2.7 ERA. And he did that with a very interesting profile. It started with plus command, couple solid secondary pitches in his slider and his changeup, a really good sinker, and what was near top of the league extension from Gibson Long's lanky 6'4" frame, releasing the ball about 7.5 feet off the mound close to the batter. Then after that season, he got Tommy John surgery, and he finally just came back earlier this week, and he had some mixed results in his debut start against the White Sox. He forced 12 swings and misses, and his velocity was back right near those 2023 levels, but the thing that made Gibson Long so good was that amazing command, especially of those secondary pitches, the changeup and the slider. He was able to mix and match those pitches against batters from each side of the plate much better than most other pitchers in the league can. Doing that with the top end extension and average velocity, that made him a really great pitcher. So while he got the swings and misses, and while he had the velocity, the command of those secondaries wasn't quite there yet. He did spot a bunch of those pitches, but a couple changeups floated towards the middle of the zone on him. It was close, but not all the way there. But I saw the flashes. I saw the same things that made me, again, fall in love with Gibson Long a few years ago when he debuted. Another important part about this start he made against the White Sox in his 2025 debut is that it was basically a rehab start, but in the major leagues. And what I mean by that is that the Tigers desperately need another guy to fill into their rotation, with Jackson Jobe heading to the IL and Reese Olson not ready to come back yet from his finger sprain. So Gibson Long came up probably 2 weeks before the Tigers were actually planning to work him back in the major league rotation. He only threw 70 pitches, and he kind of ran out of gas between the third and fourth innings. I would really be looking to scoop him up right now in the 12-team league if I can afford the roster spot, because if you give him another start or two and that command comes all the way back and he's working back to 100 pitches again, I think we're looking at someone who can have something like a 3.5 ERA and 27% strikeout rate the rest of the year. Next up on the list is another Tiger, outfielder Parker Meadows, also fresh off the injured list. He's 3 for 15 as of Friday evening when I'm recording this video, in the middle of the Tigers game against the Cubs. But of those 3 hits, 2 of them are a double and a triple, and he's also chipped in 5 walks. So while it's been a little bit slow for him returning, he is getting on base and he's showing a little bit of power. Possibly most important for Meadows though in his fantasy value, of the 5 games since he's returned, 4 of them have been against right-handed pitchers, and all 4 of those games he's hit leadoff and was become a pretty talented and high-producing Tigers lineup. Then again, he also sat against the only left-handed pitcher they faced, and we expect that to continue with Meadows. He will be in a platoon. But past that, he has a very decent power-speed combo. He's a tremendous outfielder in center field. Probably could be one of the 5 or so best defensive center fielders in baseball. Also, brother of Austin Meadows, shout out Austin Meadows, had a really good run for a little while a few years ago. And Meadows, while he's had a bit of an up-and-down major league career so far, where especially last season, he made the Tigers opening day roster, really struggled through the beginning of the year, got injured, came back briefly, got injured again. But then when he came back, 200 plate appearances from August through the end of the season, he had 6 home runs, 5 stolen bases, and 8 the OPS. That was mostly fueled by a batting average that was near 300. Overall, he has good plate discipline, he's a really good athlete, amazing defender, and just enough power to kind of bring this whole profile together and make him fantasy relevant. Also, as a side note, physically, he's a monster. He's listed at 6'5", 210, which is basically the same size as DK Metcalf, but 1 inch taller and about 25 pounds lighter. This is what they look like. You want to look for a player right now in the league who has the physical tools to take a step forward and be a true monster? Parker Meadows could be that guy. No matter what, he's worth a flyer in most leagues as a leadoff hitter and a good offense. Last up on the big list is Lance McCullers Jr., starting pitcher on the Astros. And honestly, guys, I've been a little bit mean to Lance McCullers Jr. so far in this channel. I just didn't take him seriously after not pitching in the major leagues since the end of the 2022 season. That's more than 2.5 full seasons on the shelf before returning to the league. Giving him a lot of credit for that, of course, working his way all the way back, but I just couldn't see him being a fantasy relevant starting pitcher with that long of a layoff. But I think he's actually turned a bit of a corner of late. He's completed 6 innings in each of his last 2 starts, and through those 12 innings, he has 19 strikeouts against just 2 walks and 3 earned runs. Of course, those starts are against the Pirates and the A's, not exactly the best teams in the league, but you have to play who's on the schedule, and we give McCullers the credit for that. And now when you look at McCullers' full season line, it's really just one horrible blow-up when he allowed 7 earned runs while only recorded 1 out. That's keeping his full season ERA kind of ugly at 4.44 over 24 innings pitched. He's really been overall great since returning to the Astros rotation. He's doing so by throwing just a ton of junk. Against left-handed batters, his fastball is his 4th most thrown pitch, only 9% usage. Ahead of it, it's a changeup, a knuckle curveball, and a slider that kind of acts more like a sweeper that he's throwing the entire time. 90% of the time, those 3 pitches against lefties, which is a really bizarre profile from a right-handed pitcher. Then against righties, the same idea, but he is throwing a lot of his sinker to get ahead of those guys and get some weak contact. I also do think he's going to get skipped this weekend. His schedule started against the Guardians. I think the Astros want to give him a few days off because, again, he hasn't pitched in 2.5 years. He just completed 6 innings back-to-back times. So maybe because of his usage and how little we expect him to actually pitch game to game, maybe this is more of a deep league guy. but he's getting strikeouts. He's going to get some wins pitching for the Astros, and his next start is scheduled to come against the White Sox now, which is a beautiful matchup to stream someone against in fantasy baseball. Overall, McCullers is much more interesting than I thought he'd be at this point. And if I was in a 12-team league, absolutely starved for pitching and really needed strikeouts especially, he's someone I take a long look at. But all right, guys, that's the end of the big list. But like I told you at the top of this video, now I'm going to have some breakout sections set aside for some shallow leagues from deeper leagues. Starting out with the shallow leagues. This is my list of guys that are not rostered enough in ESPN league, because I know a lot of you guys in the shallower 8, 10, 12 points team leagues, you're mostly playing on ESPN. So starting off on this list, David Peterson, only 44% roster. Talked about Peterson last week in my breakout pitcher video. He's just solid as a rock, pitching deep into games and winning for the Mets. Then we have Jack Caglianone, 42% rostered. I skipped the waiver video last week to kind of change the timing and get this video going on Saturday so you guys could have it ahead of waivers in your lineups on Sunday and Monday. So I missed the Caglianone fever, which was because he was such a big waiver wire guy last week. Shout him out a lot of times as stash list this season. He comes with unbelievable power. Already so far, he's going to have some of the best raw power in baseball. I know he doesn't have the results so far to back up that raw power, but pick him up on your teams. Any 12-team league, most 10-team leagues, you have a bench spot worthy enough for a guy like Jack Caglianone, who's going to be first base and outfield eligible, and can, again, work a 35-40 homer pace from this point to the rest of the season. Then we have Ryan Pepio, 36% rostered, one of my favorites on the channel all year, just quietly pitching well. He's got something like a 3.4, 3.5 ERA now, not getting the same level of strikeouts we saw him get last year, but a very good pitcher. Then Michael Busch at 24% rostered, like an 800 OPS, hitting in the middle of one of the best lineups in baseball in Chicago. No reason for that. Then we have another Cub, Daniel Palencia, 19% rostered. He has the closer job on lock for the Cubs. He throws 100 miles an hour. Don't think too hard about this one. Then Gavin Williams in the Guardians, 19% rostered, was a very hot breakout starting pitcher pick heading into the season. Bad start to the season. Really good May and start to June so far. Of his last 6 starts, 5 have been really good. The only one that hasn't was against the Dodgers. He throws 97 miles an hour. Gavin Williams is worth a roster spot easily right now. Then we have a favorite on the channel, Ryan Weathers, also only 19% rostered. I really think he's like a top 30, top 35 starting pitcher in fantasy baseball. I talk about him basically every single video, but that's because he needs to be rostered more places. Explosive fastball, great changeup, good sweeper. It's easy. Then Addison Barger, 12%, another guy I featured a lot in this channel this year. Last week, he had home runs in 4 consecutive games. He's playing every single day, hitting the top of the Blue Jays lineup. 12% roster is criminally low for Barger. Then Landon Roop, only 9% rostered. People kind of soured on Roop after he had a really hot start to the season. I used him as a thumbnail for one of my first waiver wire videos this year. For some reason, people aren't into him anymore, but he hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs in any start since April 30th. So again, pick up Roop in your 12-team leagues. 91% available on ESPN. And lastly, Trevor Larnach on the Twins. He had a slow start to the season, got injured, now he's back, had a 760 OPS, hitting near the top of that lineup, playing every single day. Larnach's a great player and a really good, boring compiler. 8% roster, again, criminally low. Next up, we have the stash list. Guys who are either still in the minor leagues or working on rehab assignments, I think you guys should be focusing on and maybe picking up and stashing before they come back to the major leagues. It's kind of a soft stash list this week, but it's really led by these 3 guys at the top: Andrew Painter, Bubba Chandler, Roman Anthony. Painter's working, still kind of on a rehab assignment, still just kind of pitching in the minor leagues. I don't know how the Phillies are going to wind up using him. He's one of the most talented pitchers in all of the minor leagues right now whenever he gets that shot. And then Bubba Chandler and Roman Anthony, who sadly have been in this list literally the entire season, because I don't know why their teams are not calling them up. It really doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I've been telling you guys to stash them. It sounded stupid because they're not up yet, but they will be up soon. They have to be. And when they come up, they're instantly going to be impact players at major league level. And now a couple guys who are working back from injuries. Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas for the Mets are both on rehab assignments. Montas should be back within a week or so, but I don't know if he's good enough to really stash in most leagues. Manaea just began a rehab assignment, so we probably still have about 3 more weeks of him working through the minor leagues. He's a good pitcher. He's definitely 12-team viable the second he's healthy. So probably worth a stash in about a week or 2 to get ready to have Manaea. Then JT Ginn, he's totally fine, but the A's rotation is so bad that whenever he's back off this rehab assignment, he's going to step back into it. And Ha-Seong Kim on the Rays. I'm sure Ha-Seong Kim steps right back into an everyday infield role for the Rays. Good speed threat. Could hit for a high average, probably not getting much power. Again, a bit of a soft stash list this week, besides for those phenom minor leaguers. Next up, we have our deep league ads. These are players that if you guys are playing in deeper leagues, you should really strongly consider checking the waiver wire and seeing if they're out there. First is 2 guys who had great starts on Friday night, Ben Brown and Mike Soroka. I think by next week, both Brown and Soroka could be getting big features in the main part of this waiver video. But Brown has amazing stuff. He has an upper 90s fastball and a hammer curveball. Just hasn't really found his footing yet this season, but just went toe-to-toe with Tarek Skubal and took him to the wire. And then Soroka's working his way back from just a litany of injuries, but now he's a fastball slurve guy when he used to be more of a sinker, changeup, slider guy. And the stuff has flashed. Great start on Friday. Take a close look at both of those guys this weekend. Then Ryan Yarbrough and the Yankees. Probably still another couple weeks away from actually believing this is real because he only throws like 88 miles an hour, but running the best strikeout rate of his career right now and really limiting damage in a good way. Then somehow Joe Adell and the Angels, I thought he was dead. Now he's back playing nearly every day. Bunch of homers last week, OPS to 700. The physical tools are still there. I don't know. It depends how deep your league is. David Hamilton and the Red Sox, he keeps siphoning starts away from Christian Campbell, who looked like he was going to just jump up and be a phenom in the first couple weeks of the season. Now Campbell looks like he could be demoted back AAA any day now. But Hamilton's a much better defender than Campbell, playing much more often now. And also when he's playing, for you guys in rotisserie leagues, Hamilton steals tons of bags. Then Jake Mangum on the Rays. Mangum took Chandler Simpson's roster spot this week, much to the chagrin of a lot of fantasy managers out there. But Mangum kind of does what Simpson does, but better. He's a better outfield defender. He's a better hitter. And he's never going to steal bases the same rate as Simpson. But if you guys need speed, Mangum will steal a few bags for the Tampa Bay Rays. Then we have a pair of Mets infielders, Luis Angel Acuna and Ryan Mauricio. Francisco Lindor has a fractured toe. He's determined to playing through it, but he's not playing right now. Might take the whole weekend off in Colorado. With that, Acuna and Mauricio are going to get a shot at shortstop. Acuna has really not hit much this season, especially relative to what he did down the stretch last year. But he steals bags and he makes contact, maybe finds a way to get hot. But Mauricio is the interesting one. He's got crazy power, some of the most insane raw tools we're going to see in baseball right now. He also swings at about everything outside the strike zone. So this might be a golden opportunity for him to play a little bit at his natural position, shortstop, where other times he's come up for the Mets, he's played mostly second and third base. But he is coming off a torn ACL with some complications all the way back in 2023. So this is his first time appearing in a Major League game again since September 2023. It's going to be a bit of an adjustment for Mauricio, but he's the guy where if he does catch fire, he suddenly becomes one of the most interesting deep league ads in all fantasy baseball. And David Festa and the Twins really struggled in his return to the league last week, replacing Pablo Lopez, going to be out for about 2-3 months with a shoulder strain. But he does have good stuff, just whether or not the Twins are going to allow him to throw more than 3, 4, 5 innings at a time. Then Tim Elko, first baseman on the White Sox, crazy power, lots of swing and miss, classic profile. Hit a walk-off home run the other day, though. He's fun. Then we got Chad Patrick on the Brewers. Just every single 5 days, this guy goes out and grinds his way to a good start. I don't know how he does it. Lots of changeups. He's fun. He's the kind of guy who you're always waiting for the blow-up around the corner. Then Christian Encarnacion Strand, first baseman on the Reds. He returned from the injured list this week. He's back in the lineup. Heimer Candelario is due back soon, though, for them, so maybe this Encarnacion Strand's run is short-served. Another guy, huge power, tons of swing and miss. Was a popular breakout pick last year, but was just dreadful. But hey, maybe he gets hot now. Then a few infielders that were just called up, Cole Young and Ryan Ritter. Young is definitely the more highly regarded prospect for the Mariners, but he's really struggled through the first week of his major league career. I can't see him hitting for much power at all. Maybe he has a high average and steals bases, though. And then Ryan Ritter. The only thing really interesting about Ritter, well, one, he had pretty good AAA production. Two, with Ezekiel Tovar going on the IL, he has a shot at regular playing time at Coors Field. That's worth it for fantasy purposes. Then lastly, Randy Rodriguez. If you guys are playing in saves and holds leagues, you have to get Rodriguez. He's one of the most electric relievers in baseball right now, one of the highest strikeout minus walk rates in Major League Baseball right now. And when Ryan Walker just got taken out of the closer role, Camille Doval got put into the closer role, and now we're seeing Randy Rodriguez pitch a lot of eighth innings. So if anything wrong happens with Doval, Rodriguez might be the full-time closer on a good team out in San Francisco. And now lastly, I've given you guys plenty of players to add. Now I have to give you some to drop. Starting off with the trio of Red Sox, Lucas Giolito, Walker Buehler, and Christian Campbell. Giolito and Buehler have just gotten crushed of late. I don't really like those guys coming off injuries. They haven't looked good at all. I see no need to hang on to them or a 10 or 12 team league. I don't know why anything better would be around the corner for either of them. Then Christian Campbell, again, one of my favorites from the early season of this channel, but he's been stinking lately. The OPS is like 400 over his last 6 weeks of baseball. That's unplayable, especially for guys not good on defense. I do think there's a trip to the minor leagues in store soon for Campbell. Then I just mentioned him, Ryan Walker in the Giants, not the closer anymore. No reason to hold a reliever that's not a closer. Mark Vientos on the Mets, hit the IL last week with a hamstring strain. Should be out for 2 or 3 weeks, but he's been hitting so poorly. There's a chance that someone like Mauricio plays well enough in his absence, Vientos comes back as just a part-time player, which he kind of was for the last few weeks anyway because he struggled so much. Then Javi Baez and the Tigers. The Javi Baez thing was really fun, guys, for that couple of weeks, but now he's back to the Javi Baez we knew for the last few years. Just not that productive anymore. Same with JP Sears on the Athletics, just getting torched of late. Not someone who's worth holding on to. He's just more of a bad streamer in a 12-team league. Then another Red Sox here. I forgot there was a 4th Red Sox in this list. Richard Fitz. He got crushed the other day against the Angels. Got sent down to the minor leagues. Not holding on to him anymore. Then Max Meyer on the Marlins. One of the favorites from this channel early in the season. Has pitched really poorly over the last 4 or so weeks. And now just went on the IL. If you have an IL spot, I guess you could stash Meyer there, but if not, get him out of here. And lastly, Tony Gonsolin on the Dodgers. Had those great starts with all the strikeouts straight off the IL. Now he's come back to being the Tony Gonsolin we all know. Gonsolin's a good streamer, so keep an eye on the Dodgers schedule. When he has a good matchup, throw him in there. But last week, he pitched against the Mets, and they teed off on him. So that's kind of the book on Tony Gonsolin. But all right, guys, thank you so much for watching another great waiver wire video. Again, if you're not subscribed to the channel and want to get notifications whenever I drop any more new videos, again, like waivers every week. I think next I'm going to do my panic meter for some players who still aren't playing well as we get into June now, and lots of other fun stuff. So again, if you guys want to get notified, please subscribe to the channel. Click that big black button down below. Drop this video a like if you're still with me. But again, thank you all so much, and I'll see you next time.